Gotta be square. Gotta be square. Okay, everything's funny. I had a power outage this morning, so everything is just a little bit weird and not cooperating the way I would like it to. So, always good on a show day. Welcome to the broadcast. Good news, I found the most confining article of clothing I own for the show tonight, so it's going to be a fun hour for me. But I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to be here. It's been a tough road getting to this stage. If you've been keeping score at home, you know that I have spent this last year just completely steeped in the work of getting this book ready, Another New World, my companion book to my film, Oh Buster, Where Art Thou, about Buster Keaton, the latter half of his life. And finally, I'm at a place where it's like when you jump off the merry-go-round that's been spinning, and then you're just kind of like, you don't know what to think or feel, and your head's spinning, and you feel like you keep having that panic feeling like you're supposed to be doing something and you're not, like you forgot and left like the oven on or something like that, or you're gonna get in trouble. Trouble's coming. So that's where I'm at right now, just like the mini panics, the constant mini panics of I'm supposed to be doing something if I like stop for more than 10 seconds at a time. But I'm super excited for this episode tonight. I've been really looking forward to it. Last month had an extra week, so it was a pretty big space between episodes. So I've been looking forward to being able to come and talk about what's been going on, because some stuff has been going on, and it's exciting stuff. So I'm looking forward to unpacking all of that. So just an FYI, my last 3 episodes, I talked a lot about the what was going on with the unions, like the entertainment unions, WGA and SAG-AFTRA striking, and then some other unions as well, like the updates of those. And I talked about, the upcoming job crisis because of AI on automation, and what that's really going to mean for everybody if we don't have like a more robust social safety net situation, like universal health care and universal basic income. And I talk really in depth about what all that means in my chronologically previous episode to this one. It's actually an episode 8 of the Million Movie Project, but chronologically, if you go to my page and find it, it's the one that airs before this one. So if you want to get in some inside information on what all of that means, and see where I'm coming from and see what I'm talking about, you can go there and check all those episodes out, and that one in particular. I had quite a bit to say about the idea, the concept of forming a people's union outside of labor, because there's a lot of people in this world who want to belong to a union but don't work in labor fields, even though lots of new unions are being formed, which is super, super awesome. But if you think about small business owners, disabled people, retirees who never belong to a union and aren't entitled to those benefits, gig workers, and I can't think of anybody more needful of union protection as gig workers, renters, just all kinds of other people outside the spectrum of dedicated labor who could really use some more bargaining power and collective power to work together, in a more cohesive way. And we need to unionize everything. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. I will probably go back to that topic again in the future in some more very special episodes. But right now, I want to kind of get back to what's actually going on with the book and all of that, because there's a lot to go and unpack. And so if you want to hear my thoughts and what I'm talking about, it's called what I call the People's Union. And then, automation and all of that, and what's happening as far as AI goes, and how joblessness is going to be affected by that, based on the fact that it is not regulated, and the people who own that technology and are developing that technology, which is literally every single industry, is going to make sure that they pay their politicians not to do anything about regulation or drag their feet about it. And it doesn't matter if you're team red, team blue, they all, the money is green. Okay, so you can check on my past few episodes about that, especially Million Movie Project episode 8 specifically, and I will touch on that again in the future. But for right now, I want to shift gears and talk a little bit more about what has been going on in my life regarding this book and this whole project. I recently had the opportunity to sit down for an interview that looks a lot like this. Recently on a show called Your Story Matters, hosted by Julie Hoyle. We had a great conversation about Buster. She actually didn't really know Buster. She, like me, and I think most of us, grew up in an era or a time where Charlie Chaplin movies were much more accessible. So people really didn't know about Harold Lloyd or Buster, that kind of a thing, until, until later, until it became more of a, less of a niche situation and more of a widely broadcasted situation. And then, but I was like, oh no, you've seen this clip, surely. And she's like, yeah. So she knew. I was able to say, no, you know Buster, you just don't realize you know Buster. We had a great conversation. She was really thorough in her questioning. I had a pleasure of time sitting down with her, and sharing with her audience as well. So if you want to check that out, you can check on my socials. It's still around on my socials, the post. But you can also go to her YouTube channel, and it's Your Story Matters. And her name's Julie Hoyle, and she interviews creatives, makers of things, writers, that kind of thing. And she is one herself. So go along and check that out if you're a Buster fan. Give her a follow if you like to hear interesting people telling interesting stories, that kind of a thing. And so that's still out there. It was a really good time. I really enjoyed myself, and I always love to get the chance to spread the gospel of Buster. So, with that being said, another thing that I just got, it's not completely sorted yet, but I just sort of got the ball rolling on, is I am a listed author on Goodreads now. I had a book out prior to the one that's coming out now, but it's this one. I got this one. It's backwards. But what this is that was my first book that I ever independently published. And I did it a few years ago. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was mostly just interested in the process to see what it was about. Like, the KDP publishing had really just come about, and I was thinking, what's this all about? So I want to kind of get back to that and maybe correct some formatting issues and have another look at that. So that is there listed, and Another New World is now listed. It's not available for sale yet. But it is listed. I'm working on building up the profile. So if you are on Goodreads, if that's your thing, you can friend me, follow me. I guess it's kind of a social media for readers. So if you want to join me over there, I'm over there now. Don't really know what it's all about quite yet, but my stuff is listed for the most part, and we'll figure all that out together. So I'm on there now. I don't know if I got a unique link or anything. I think maybe you just go and type my name, something like that, or the name of the book, and voila, you should be able to find it. So I'm on Goodreads now. That's another thing. God, there's so much. I'm just like, I've got notes, but I'm looking at them and it's sort of like, where do you begin? Because they're all just in there, right? So, okay, so here's what's going on. So aside from that, that wasn't the big news. That's just some extra go along with good things news. The good news, the big good news, the announcement that I promised, we might take a little explaining. So I will just I'm just going to kind of unpack that now. When I first started this whole project, I was, maybe not like first, like a million years ago, but like, in the last year when I was getting ready to publish. I, was pretty much, with the cost of living going, through the roof, I had a pretty good idea that the production and printing costs of the book would also be higher than, maybe Sorry Charlie was when I published it several years ago. But I didn't really think, like, oh, it's going to be, like, substantially higher than what I'm used to. Or what I would guess. I would think it wouldn't really cost very much in terms of materials, because, it shouldn't, honestly. But it's a corporation. It's going to scrape you down wherever it can. So what ultimately is going on with that is this is sort of a lemonade out of lemon situation, but once I realized actually this is better this way, I got really excited about it. So you guys can get really excited about it too, because it might be like, oh, that's not what I wanted, but then I'll explain. Okay, so what's going on is this. I was getting, you know, the manuscript and everything ready to publish. And I found out what the publishing cost was going to be with the color images in it. Oh, did I say color? I sure did. That was actually something I was keeping secret. That my restorations of my images, I had also fully colorized and painted in what wasn't there. I mean, completely ground up restorations. And I'm not talking about ran through like a colorizer app on the internet. I'm talking about full on color that I placed myself to make these real life images that haven't been seen in this way, and haven't some of them been seen at all by the public. Some, you know, you'd be familiar with potentially, but others none. So and when we're talking about photos that are, you know, 100 years old, some are in such poor condition. You know, they took a lot of work just to get them visible. You know, sometimes there would be people who were, you know, in the backgrounds that were invisible. Sometimes people would be revealed. You know, there would be secret stuff in there. There's one picture in particular where Joe, you see him, he's holding a bottle of Coke, and you couldn't see that before I started working on it. I know that doesn't sound super exciting, but I found people in the backgrounds of pictures. I found things like that. I've had to rebuild pieces of furniture that are washed out by light, people who are washed out by light. And I've talked about this before. You know, photography historically has always been something of a bastard technology, because it was really something that the, you know, consumers wanted more than the technology really existed. For the most part of its history, up until I'd say until the digital age of technology, where we really get the picture of what we see. That was never the case before. So the issue is that alongside the story, I had several photo sections, you know, that were divided by era, and they were, like I said, fully realized. Nothing like you've really ever seen before, because this hasn't been done in this way. And they were in it pretty, as I saw it, a pretty integral part of the story. But when I found out the printing cost, that changed. And I was thinking, like, well, what do I do now? So I wasn't very happy, and I just kind of angry stewed on it for about 15 minutes. And something came to me, and I realized there's a way around this. It's actually a really good, better solution, which is that I can, to keep the cost low, release as scheduled the story part of the story that's just, you know, black and white text. And then after that, I can come back in and put the photos in their own book, in their own arrangement, and that could be a separate thing that would be like a part 2 to this book. So part 1 would be the story, part 2 would be the story and images. And that, to me, I think, and the cost would be a little bit higher, obviously, for printing, but that would be, you know, sort of like I would package that as more like a coffee table type book, not really necessarily like a book that you sit down and read like the first one would be. And of course it would be offered on digital as well, but ebook. But the idea being now that there was so much content and the price was going to be so high due to that, I have split them in twine, and now there's a part 1 and a part 2. So it's not where I wanted to go initially. It was not part of my beginning plan, so don't be like, you greed. No, this was not part of the plan, but it is something that I think is actually going to be for the benefit of the story, because when I was choosing the images that I wanted to work on and wanted to include, I had to keep, you know, I initially had just probably over 100, you know, that I wanted to do. I need this one, I need this one, I need this one. And I you know, I had to wheedle it down and wheedle it down and wheedle it down. And I was okay with what I had, but I would have much rather not have had to make those cuts. You know, they told the story as far as I was concerned. So am I happy that I spent endless weeks working on the ones that I worked on? Not for what it was like mentally, no. And then not for when I came up again to find out what the cost altogether was going to be. I wasn't happy. But It hasn't delayed the release date of November 25th anyways. So what's going to happen now is the literary part of the book will be part 1, and it will come out same as before, November 25th of this year. Okay, so that's still completely happening, right? The only difference is now is because I've got, I would say, a majority of the photos already ready to go. I just have to arrange them, package them, add to them back into the ones that I didn't get to make a more fully formed second part. So what you will get, or choose to get, is you can, if you were going to buy the first one, if you're going to buy it in the first place, you could still buy the literary version on schedule as promised in digital, paperback, and hardback editions. And I kept the prices on that stuff as low as I could go. You know, it's not like you really make any money doing this kind of thing. So that's I did the best I could, I think, with that, and especially with costs of what they are and how high the printing costs were. I tried to do the best that I could. So I'm not making, when you see the listing prices, it's, I think that I don't have it in front of me, but off the top of my head, it would be $4.99 for digital, meaning ebook, like your device, $17 for paperback, and $25 for hardback. So that's what the prices are. I told you I would get to that, and that's what they are at this time. And then that's about as low as I could go on those for now. And they're not available for pre-order yet. The let me see, the 19th of this month, I will make the first part available for pre-order, but that only applies to digital. For whatever reason, Amazon only allows pre-orders of digital, but not like the paperback or the hardback. But the good news is like they're not going to run out of stock or anything. Like when you order it, you can always have one made for you. They're made to order. But if you do pre-order the digital copy of it, then the November 25th, it just appears on your device, or you know, where if you've never done it before, that's what happens. It just appears like magic, so it just is there. So you can basically order it whenever you want, and then November 25th it will be there. So I will make that available November 19th coming up. And then so that means that the second part, the photographic part, and let me address this once again. I've talked about this before, and I do absolutely understand that there's a lot of you out there that are like, don't mess with the pictures, leave them be. This is how they're supposed to be. This is what they look like. Well, okay, I understand you. I understand you want the washed out light, and you want the dust and the scratches. I understand that completely. But don't look at this as a historical document that has been altered, right? All that still exists out there in some form or fashion. What I'm bringing you is the exact same concept as I'm doing in the writing, bringing this story, these people, their lives to life. You know, making them three-dimensional. You know, there's all these really great biographies out there. There's tons of great artwork and stuff like that. But that is a reiteration and sometimes regurgitation of facts. You know, he did this, then he went there, at this time he was here, and, you know, that kind of thing. No matter how well it's packaged or how interesting it possibly could be. I know that there's a lot of good biographies out there. This is not that. I want to underscore that. This is more like if you were reading a storybook where you got to be in the world of the characters, the people characters, I say loosely, because they're people, they're real people, where I've taken all of my research and I've combined it with how I normally would write a fictional story. And I've addressed this a lot too, but I feel like it always needs to be brought back up. This is not something where I just pulled things out of my mind and made things up and added, balloon races and car chases. It's not like that at all. This is all fact-based. The only interventions that I made were, and it's meticulously fact-based, because let's not forget, I've been working on this for 13 years, right? I've gotten interviews with people who knew them, Buster and Eleanor, and Harry and Louise, his brother and sister. And I've talked to people, I've talked to scores of people, And I've talked to historians, and I've talked to people who were friends of theirs who have passed away. I've been to locations that have been razed. I have researched and researched and researched all over this country, okay? So I'm not saying that I've done more than anybody else necessarily. What I'm saying is this is not what you've seen before, and that's what makes this different. That's where this is all coming from. I am not a biographer by nature. I am not a historical nonfiction writer by nature. When I write fiction. So my sensibility as a fiction writer is combined with these facts so that I can show you what people, if somebody tells me, oh, Buster liked to do this, that, the other, and he'd always laugh when this thing happened, blah, 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 blah. Well, I weave that into the facts of what's going on in the chronology, and it covers the last 2 decades-ish of their lives together. And I also really wanted to show you what their living environments were like, why his family was so important to him, how he thought of them and how they thought of him, you know, these kind of things, and give those people a voice. Myra and Joe and Louise and Harry, give those people their due, and same with Eleanor's family. They play a role. They play a very big role in this. So and the thing I tried to do differently is the movie exists already. It's got interviews with certain people that you see. You can hear their points of view, their experiences, right? So we know that Buster and Eleanor were absolutely surrounded by people. So what I did is I let that be that, and then I tried to involve other people who I couldn't fit into the film, or we couldn't make it work, because there were other people I talked to, like James Karen. We couldn't make our schedules work out. He was going to participate in the film, and at the last minute, he, you know, and he's in his, you know, late 80s at this point, almost 90 years old, but he calls me up and he's like, hey, I can't be in your movie, sorry, I'm going to be in a play, bye. And I was like, go be in that play, my man. So that's kind of how that worked out. So so that there were people I've talked to in person. There were people I interviewed that I was able to get on film. There were people I talked to in phone conversations. There are so many people and moving parts in all of this that there was all kinds of things that I just didn't have the ability to fit into the film. So that's where this is all coming from. It's stuff that didn't make it into the film. It's stuff that did, and that, and you know, also everybody, the things people say, not every single moment of film of them or everything they had to say is in the film. It's like the highlights reel, basically. So keeping that in mind, I took all of this info that didn't fit, I took all of this research info, and I just melded it all together. And I know if you've been watching these shows, you've heard me say this a lot, but I feel like, you know, we live in a world of fan fictions and things, and I've actually been asked, oh, is it fan fiction? No. I'm totally cool with people who want to write fan fiction for fun. I get a little skeeved out when it's about real people, but to each their own, do your own thing, whatever it is. But this is absolutely fact-based, truth-based, to the greatest extent that I could make it, based on my 13 heavy years of involvement with this. So when I realized I wasn't going to be able to put the photos into the way I wanted to, you know, I had about 15 minutes of a angie. And then I got to thinking, you know, like, no, wait a minute, this is actually a good thing. Because when you write anything, when you make anything, you have to make sacrifices. You have to make edits, cuts. You have to say, well, these pictures look pretty similar, even though they're not. I guess this one can go, you know, that kind of a thing, right? And you're like, well, I wanted to put this much information into the caption, but I'll put this much information into the caption. So what this is ultimately going to do is I'm going to be able to bring you a much more robust version of events in 2 parts, and that I think is actually really exciting more than it is a bad thing. I know it's not what we were expecting. I wasn't expecting it, but the idea now that, like, this also, if you get the book and you don't like it, like, then you could still check out, like, the photographic version and still hopefully, you know, get something out of that. And if you don't like both, then okay, don't then. But, you know, if you like the first one, then you're definitely like the second one. If you don't like the first one, maybe like the second one, or you won't. But that's cool too. You know, I don't mind, honestly. I don't mind. I don't expect the whole world to love what I've done here. I don't expect everyone to to just go with it and say, oh no, I love this. I just love this. No, I mean, I know some people will, some people won't, some people will fall in the middle. You can't please everybody, and that's not why you make stuff in the first place. But this is something that I, just like the movie, I kind of saw as a shepherding type of responsibility of keeping Buster's legacy going, and Buster's, who he was as a person going, because that's really important to me. And because I was, privy to so much information about him personally, some stuff, I wouldn't necessarily think that's like the whole world's information, so this is not like a tell-all saucy type of a thing. It's not like that at all. And that's another thing too. Like, if I was writing it like I would write and make things up, this would have way more knife fights and car chases. And it's got none of those. So this is just people living their life, how they lived it, who they lived it with, what they did. Some things you will know, some things you will have never heard before, just like the picture. Some you will have seen in some form or fashion before, some you won't have because they've not been published. And none of these works of mine have been published because essentially they're artworks. They're multiple pieces of artwork. And they're not just like, here's a picture I ran through a colorizing app I found online. Absolutely not. I want to make that very, very clear. I'm not trying to say that like, oh, I'm so much better than whatever. That's not the message here. The message is, I put hours and hours and hours of work, meticulous restoration work, and color work into these images, which again do not negate the originals, but I can tell you, it's about matching skin tones, and it's about getting shadows and highlights, and it's about bringing things out of the background, and it's about seeing things that maybe you've seen the black and white version of a grainy version of something or other a million times, but then you didn't notice something about it. As I was going through these images that I've seen hundreds of thousands of times, I was finding new things that I had never seen before that added an immense amount of context. And that's sort of what all this is I've taken the details, and I've taken it, in words and in photos, and I've added context to it so that we in the modern world can remember and relate to the fact that these also were real people. And, it's not this kind of thing, like I said, it's not salacious, it's not anything like that. And then, thank you, I got a comment from somebody who said the work is really good. Oh, I got a compliment, so now I'm distracted. I forgot where I was. It's just that this is going a new direction for a new world that we live in. That's really what I want to get across. And being that I wanted it to be an all-inclusive thing, and I did have other Buster projects, in mind that were going to come along down the road, in that were in my working queue. Of course, again, like I've said before, I was anticipating getting to have a Buster break after 13 years and work on some other stuff. And then now I've got another volume of this book to put out, but it's just simply too much information. And I look at my movie and I think, man, I wish I would have got that piece in, or I wish I could have had more of this, or I wish I could have had more of that. But you have to editorialize. You can't just put whatever, it's got to be for the good of the project. And this, I think, is actually a really excellent alternative to not having to sacrifice and editorialize the way I was before. Because if we were talking around 60 images, I can make substantially more. I can add a lot more artwork. I will organize it similarly, through the eras, because that's how it was originally, before I had to delete them from the manuscript. But they were organized in photo sections of some different eras of his life and their lives together. And now I really don't have to make that sacrifice. And yeah, that one will probably have a well, I guarantee you it will be a little more expensive than, but that would be something that would be more like, for your collection, like that kind of a thing. And again, if you like the first book, then you'll like the second book. If you don't, you still probably like it, because it's, it's something different, it's something there. In this whole experience, from what I've done and what I know, and what I've learned and what I found out and, you know, all this, it's got to go somewhere. It can't just sit in my brain forever. That's, to me, that's like a selfish type of a thing to do. And why would I do that? So, and you know, I've talked about how the process has been, and it's been hellacious. Honestly, it's not been a bed of roses for sure. It's been a very, very difficult process getting this book to this point where it's ready to go. And I've been over it a million times, and there still could be mistakes in it. Who really knows? You know, I'm not a machine. But you could tell me about it, and I could do something about that. But that's the big news, is that this book is now going to have a second volume, and it's going to be a picture book, and it's going to be something that I've got the bulk of the work done, but I don't know exactly when. That one's kind of TBD about when exactly it's going to come out. I don't really like the idea of only releasing like one book a year, because it might do its best sales, you know, prior to the holiday season. I chose the original of that for the first volume that I thought was going to be the whole thing, but initially I chose the date of November 25th because I just needed the time to work on it, you know, and I figured that would be good timing. I should be able to have enough time to do everything, have it ready, do, you know, a fair bit of marketing and networking and that kind of a thing, and then it just, you know, good timing that it would be maybe a holiday seasonal type of a situation. So I also was planning on working on a non-Buster project after finishing this, starting pretty much right away, which is just, it's not anything to do with Buster. It's a different fictional work of mine, called The Big Bad Wolf, paranormal thriller rather. It's scary, and I've always wanted to get that one to market, but it's taken a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot more work. So I'm not really sure exactly on how these things are going to get released. Again, like I said, I don't want to just constantly be doing Buster. I was really not anticipating this book becoming 2 volumes. And I was looking forward to the fact that I could have a break for a little while and put my mind somewhere else, on some different art, on some different literary projects. And I wanted to get Big Bad Wolf going, because I've got a working list about a mile long at this point, and I work across genre. You know, I don't just do one thing or another. I do all kinds of genres: comedy, dramedy, historical fiction, paranormal thriller, scary stuff like that. So I was looking forward to that, but that's not something that's really, I think, obviously not in the cards at this time. So if you have any thoughts about that in terms of I know probably if you're a fan, you're like, no, give me the Buster right away, immediately, which might happen. So next, maybe, I really haven't had the chance, you know, just now getting everything ready to go, just really now finding this out. This has been information I've been privy to for about a week. So as I'm reckoning with it, I don't have dates that I can give you. You know, I wish that I did, but I don't. So it gives me, you know, I've got to do some thinking, I've got to do some figuring, and I don't mind if people want to reach out and say, hey, you know, I don't think that it matters if you do 1 a year, you could do 2 a year, or whatever, just, you know, as a fan of whatever. And my hope is that my style that I wrote the Another New World in is influenced obviously by my fictional style, but also I had to adhere to it's just strict facts and dates and times and things like that. I didn't have the creative freedom that I would when I was first writing it. I would forget about that and go off on tangents, and I'd be like, wait a minute, none of this happened, and it's at the wrong time, and then, you know, take it all out and then get myself back regimented again. So that's why I was really looking forward to getting into the Big Bad Wolf and getting it going. And I have some other projects as well, Buster projects and non-Buster projects, so I was looking forward to that. But now I've got to try to figure out a better schedule of releases. I also don't want to release it so soon that it steamrolls the first one, because the thing of it is that yes, it is a second volume. Yes, it's going to tell the story in pictures. They go together, but they need a little breathing room, I feel like, between not just where I have to work on it, you know, because like I said, I've got the majority of the work done. Now I've got, you know, some more pictures to finish and select, and I've got to arrange everything, and I've got a theme in mind already, and, you know, cover art is pretty much done. So, you know, this was just not something I was anticipating, and it's one of those things where I thought I was getting out and it pulls me back in. So that's where I'm at as far as that goes. I don't have all the answers, is really what I'm roundabout getting at here. Is I don't have information about release dates. I don't have information about what's going to come first, Big Bad Wolf, or maybe that one will, Big Bad Wolf might come middle of the year, and but Another New World Volume 2 will come maybe at the end of the year. I just really have to kind of sit down and kind of hash it out and figure out what's going to be best to do. Because, you know, I realize that the people who are interested mostly in these now, these books are Buster fans. Because I've, you know, had my mind in so many other places, artwork, filmmaking, making soap, you know, like, so I've never really focused on one avenue in which to establish a reputation in. You know, I'm known to do art, but I'm not a known artist. I'm known to do writing, but I'm not a known writer. I'm known to do filmmaking, but I'm not a known filmmaker. And that had never really been much of an issue for me before, but now I think I'm at the point where, well, I not going to be all over the place anymore. I'm really going to focus on writing and art from now on. So I really want to, you know, kind of build up my reputation as a writer, both for Buster and non-Buster stuff. So my hope is this: even though that if you read Another New World and you like the way it's written and you like the book, and you think, okay, I want to go and try one of her non-Buster books, cool, do that, please. but every time I write something, it comes out differently. You know, that's kind of how I am. I'm kind of a chameleon in terms of what is what. So I hope that you will follow me into some other realms. But what's most important, though, for me, getting started doing all of this, both on Goodreads and Amazon in particular, is that I have to get reviews. You know, like when you do a product review for Amazon. I'm not totally sure how exactly their algorithms work in terms of things, but I know that if it gets better site priority and comes up better in searches if it's got reviews, if it's reached over 50 or over reviews. So if you know, and the thing of it is that, like, if you leave a review but you haven't read it, like, all you have to say is, like, I'm looking forward to reading this. I've been, you know, I'm going to read this. This looks good, you know, something like that, because you can always come back and you can change it. If you're like, you read it and you hate it, then you can come back and you'll be like, I hated it. This book is just stupid and I don't recommend it to anyone. And like I said, it's okay. You don't have to like it, but I really, really, really do need reviews to make sure that, because, you know, I can't meet every Buster fan. Right now I'm doing my best to try to reach out to everyone that I could find. You know, I'm involved in the, you know, classic movie scene online and stuff. So I'm trying to reach people one-on-one as much as I can. So that's really what I have to do to make sure that all the people that, you know, maybe aren't in the same circles as I am, or are not seeing the same information out there, please share. But the most important thing that you can do, if you like it, or if you hate it and you just want to vent about it, please leave an Amazon review, please. Because if I get over 50 reviews, then that prioritizes where it's visible to people, no matter what the content of the review is. So, and you can also leave reviews on Goodreads as well. They're good to have, but they don't really have any bearing on people being able to find it and without a direct link on Amazon. Like, obviously, if you're like, I know what I want, I'm going here to get it, and I type it in and there it is. But, like, maybe you're somebody out there is like, I want to see what Buster Keaton stuff is available on Amazon. Like, if I don't have, and I know it sounds sucky, but that's just the way it works, but, like, if I don't have, like, 50 or over reviews, then it's not gonna, like, come up with the main stuff. So I won't be able to get it out there as well as I'm hoping to. I'm never going to make a fortune off of this alone, and I realize that. So I want to be able, content-wise, to make sure that, you know, when new things come out, that fans can have it. And then all this work that I put into it and all this stuff that I've got that would be new to most audiences primarily. Because like I said, you'll know some stuff, but not all stuff. And everybody's going to know a different little piece except for some stuff in there. So, there's definitely new information that's never been shared that I couldn't get into the movie, or, you know, other, like I said earlier, like there's stuff, there's lots of extra stuff that has not been made public before. Same with the images. So, it's not like you're going to read something that you've read before, and it can go in your collection, you know, you can enjoy it. And that's the thing. I also, I wanted to make it, really super clear that, if you are in a position where you really want one and you can't afford it, reach out to me. I'll make sure that, you know, something happens as far as that goes. And if you're like a blogger, reviewer, and you want to review it, you know, for your publication, reach out to me also. That's cool too. And don't feel like you're too little, or that you don't have to have a certain amount of followers or anything. I really only want to talk to independent media anyway. So if you're just getting started, I love that. Reach out, no problem. This again, in terms of appropriateness for age, I would say, you know, there's swear words in it, and there's some adult conversation. But it's not anything that you wouldn't want, you know, a teenager to read, I would say. I'm not sure that they'd want to. But, you know, maybe a kid like me, you know, kind of an advanced kid. So it would be appropriate, I think, for youths if they were so inclined. But so anybody who wants to reach out, to give any kind of, you know, if you'd like to know more about getting to review it for your publication, or want to talk to me about it, that's super cool too. I like to help people anywhere I can, you know, and I feel like if we did that more, just generally, like, you know, somebody's got a blog, but they're just getting started, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to people. You know, it's, you know, they always say, like, the worst thing they can say is no. No, it's not. but I want to put out there, like, take a chance, you know, if you can. And you know, if you're someone that wants to reach out to me, I'm not going to abuse you unless you're a jerk. So, more than welcome to reach out. You can get me at my email, polyestercowboyproductions@gmail.com. On any of my socials, I'm there. I'm on Goodreads now, as I said. So, and that's going to take a little bit more refining. I really just got it kind of started. I don't really have any, you know, things going on there. If you use it and you follow people, or you go ahead and follow me. I saw there was a place you could ask questions. So you want to ask me questions, you can do that too. That's totally cool. But like I said, if you're going to have, you know, I understand living is hell right now, and it's probably not going to get any better. So if you're a fan, a Buster fan, and you're, you know, you want it, and you know you're not really going to be able to afford to do it, just reach out, and don't be shy about that. We need to think of each other, I think, in times where things are much more difficult to get by, and especially for people who are struggling, where the world just thinks that you don't deserve to have anything fun or nice. So I'm out here. Contact me. Let's talk. If you're an indie reporter, indie reviewer, I'm out here. Reach out, let's talk, you know, that kind of a thing. And that's kind of where things are standing right now. I told you also I am going to, I've mentioned this a few times. I have an inspirational playlist. When I was writing the book, I would think about different vibes of different songs. Not necessarily like these words specifically translate to something that happens in the book. Sometimes a little bit, maybe. But I would think about different vibes that I wanted to kind of emulate in certain scenes and certain moments, and I would play those songs, and I would think about it as I was doing this. So I've got an inspirational playlist that I'm going to put together on YouTube, and I will have a link for, and then I'll also do a track listing too, if you want to, you know, pick them out yourself, to listen to it yourself. And there's a specific order to it, so it's like a kind of a thing you could, and that'll come out probably October, and it's something you can enjoy, to get all excited about the release, which again, November 25th for the literary part 1 volume is where we're at. For anyone who is just now joining, we now have 2 books instead of 1, so that's exciting. I think that's exciting. I wasn't happy about having to do that at first, but I think it was mostly because I was pissed off about how much work and time I put into it, and when I'm doing something, I don't have a lot of, I can't just like sit around and do something. I've got to get it done fast because there's so much work to do, and that's where I was. So I wasn't happy about, you know, if I realized how many months I put in working on getting the images ready and arranging them and doing all that stuff extra that I also did. So that was really upset about that initially, but I think that this is going to be a much better way to go, because you can still get the book and the book version of it, the literary version, and then you can get the version in images, and that's also going to allow for me to put less caption, more description work as well. So, and then if you got both together, you can, you know, they you know, are one and the same essentially, but 2 very different tellings of the story. And I think that's going to be a really good thing now. Now that I'm not so pouty about it, I realize that this is actually for the best. And again, down the road, I'm going to have a different art release of like actual art, you know, like paintings and stuff, like what you see on the cover image and things. I've got tons of stuff like that from over the years, and I'll put new with it. So there's going to be a release like that coming. There's going to be a cookbook coming. Again, TBD, like those are down the line, because again, I want to, you know, have some space and take some time. I don't just want to live my life in Buster World all the time. So, what I'm looking at loosely at this time is, without really knowing when exactly things are going to be released, is I want to work on Big Bad Wolf, and I want to work on part 2 of this, Another New World. So we'll see how it goes, and then I'll come here and I'll update on my socials. Follow me on my socials, because I don't really update anything that much. I'm really not very socially active. I just don't have time. I try. It's not like you know, I'm ignoring people or anything. I just don't really have the time for it. So it kind of falls by the wayside, and I have to be like, oh yeah, I need to go put an update. I need to say something. I haven't said anything about anything in a week. So that's where that stands. So, quick rundown. Pre-order for digital, the 19th of this month. I will have another show, A Million Movie Project, I think a couple days after that. Not exactly sure what that topic's going to be about yet, but I need to do another Bonanza episode, so we might be doing Bonanza again, because this entire thing was meant to be a Bonanza podcast, and it never worked out that way. So, also a fun thing, later this month will be the 1-year anniversary of the film being released. So the film has been out for a year. People have really enjoyed it. I've gotten a lot of great feedback off of it. I'm really happy to have finally been able to bring it to people and make it free so that people can see it and enjoy it. And, you know, I've gotten a lot of interesting comments about it, where people have picked up on the fact that it was like very low-key, very, very small production, because again, you know, if I'd have rolled up to people invited me to their houses, you know, like they invited a stranger from, you know, across the country into their house. So if I'd have rolled up there with a great big production trucks running cables through all their knickknacks and shit, they would have been probably pretty upset and not feeling very personal. But when I have a camera this size and another one, you know, off to the side, you know, and it's just two people working on the production, then that's just people talking, and that's what I wanted. So yes, it was an ultra low budget film, but it's about the content. It's not about, you know, what I personally wanted or what I personally did or thought should happen. I just really wanted to take that opportunity where so many of those people that I was speaking to were still living, and they, you know, wanted to share what they had to share, and they were incredibly gracious people. And there was things that they told me that never made it into the film, into the film. So that's what this book is. It's following in the footsteps of the film. So for those of you who enjoyed the film, you will definitely enjoy the book. It's got more insights to the specific era of his life that I wasn't able to bring through. Where the movie is more of a on the whole type of a thing, it is more of an overview. And then this gets into some real depth about the where's, when's, how's, why's, what led to what event, what consequence came from what action, that kind of a stuff. It is meant to immerse you in their world. And I'm finally done writing it. I'm finally done editing it. It's ready to go. It'll be ready for pre-order on digital the 19th of this month. And even though the others aren't paperback and hardback won't be available until November 25th, you don't have to worry about like a stock or anything. They're not going to be out of stock. They're made to order. So you will put in your order. They make it. They'll send it. And the only difference is it's like if you pre-order digital, it shows up on November 25th on whichever your chosen device or your account. If you or if you make an order on November 25th, then you still have to wait for shipping or whatever. But that's just how they do it. I don't have any control over that. It's not my personal choice. But again, it's going to be available on digital, like ebook, paperback, and hardback for about as low as I could manage to get the prices down. And then the second volume of the story and images, full color images, that I'm getting as close as I can to looking like modern day images, that just add all that context. And again, I understand if you're not into the idea of altering these things. We'll go out. You can easily go out and in a lot of the cases find things that original different versions. But some of what I've got, I had to completely save. That they were disappearing. And so sometimes they come out more painterly, and maybe it's a little kind of odd. And other ones look like a crisp photo that were taken yesterday. It's the stock is in the camera and the material and lighting. It's different for every single image at every single stage of his life. So we will, it's going to be worth seeing. It's going to be worth buying. I'm now very excited that I'm able to give you more content and I don't have to sacrifice, because of space and time, and I'm able to kind of bring those prices down. So you still can buy the book for a regular price of a book. But then you can also buy this more vanity version of it, of images that will, because of the images, it will be more expensive. But and I am telling you this because then now you know what you're going to get. Like you could decide, like, yes, I want to spend that money on this to put it in my Buster collection. And I've been to so many people's houses that have Buster collections, and so if that's what you're about, and then once people are able to pirate or whatever the pictures off of the digital copy or scan out of them, it's all bets are off anyways. So it's just if you want another collectible for your collection. So now one book is two books, and it definitely wasn't intended, but I definitely think it's the best way to go. So as we wrap things up here, once again, the pre-order for digital is going to be the 19th of this month. You can start as far as that goes. The playlist, and it's not playlist of what's in the story. There are references throughout to music. There is songs in the actual text that get talked about. But this is just like what I was using to inspire me as I was writing it. It could be certain lyrics, it could be certain sounds, tempos, vibes. So, and it does, I will tell you, the way that the order of the music of the inspirational playlist does tell the story, but you won't be able, before you've read it, you won't be able to tell. But afterwards, you can put your little sleuth hat on and check out, lay them side by side and be like, oh, this might represent this, so on and so forth. So there's some interactivity going on here. And the book itself also has some interactivity in there as well. Not going to tell you what, but there's at least 2 incidences where you could take another piece of media and lay it across what I've done, or some sort of involvement, I should say. I don't want to give anything away, but there are instances where you can kind of tactily get involved in things that are happening. So it's coming out on regular schedule. It just won't have pictures. It's going to be regular, just black and white text, and then the picture book will come out TBD. Not exactly sure when, but now I have more work to do. So and if I would really, really, really appreciate it if you followed me into if you like this and you followed me into some of my other books. as they come out as well, because that will overall, help me being able to keep releasing Buster related materials overall. So, I think that covers everything. I'm super excited for you to get to read the book finally, and I'm super excited for you to get to see these restorations. Again, they're restorative. And just because I'm a digital artist, I was able to, if something washed some people out completely because it was an outdoor shot or whatever, I was able to put them back in. And again, I'm not doing crazy off the wall things. I'm going with the details in there that exist, and then just trying to fill in those gaps. So again, if you don't want to look at things that have been modified, you don't have to. But if you like me, like that extra bit of context that comes out of something like that, where a professional person has added something to it based on what they know how to do, it's something I would want to look at. So I hope that you as well like to look at things. And the world of Buster is always going to be evolving, right? And we want it to. We want to be able to take the old and put it with the new. Otherwise, what's the point? He would want that too. Yes, I'm speaking for him because I can and I know. He would want that. You know how, if you know anything about him, you know that he was absolutely technologically fascinated. He loved technology. His entire career was based around technology and taking risks with new kind of technology and building shutters for cameras and doing things that other people hadn't done. So if it's my thinking, if we just left it back in what it was and never made any differences and never looked forward with anything, then we wouldn't really be doing his legacy very much of a service. And seeing that I have been placed in service for more than a decade to his legacy and will be going into the future, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to speak that language and bring it to you guys. So as we wrap up here, I think I covered up everything that I wanted to cover. I will be back with another episode mid-month, 2 Thursdays from now, whatever that is. And any other updates about anything, any other changes that don't require this much conversation, I will put on my socials. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok. I don't have a lot of time for TikTok, but I'm there. Now I'm on Goodreads, and I think that's everything. But anyways, you can find me. I'm findable. PolyesterCowboyProductions.com. Again, if you want to talk to me about any of this stuff for like your blog or advanced copy kind of situation, but I will keep you informed as much as I can on changes, because like I said, this information is just about a week old, and I don't expect that format to change. The book is ready to go now. It's just not purchasable until it's time, which I still need that time. I could think of something that I have to go back and fix or change or do. I still need that little bit of a cushion. It just happens to be that I managed to finish pretty much on schedule. I wanted to be done at this point so that if anything else came to mind, I'd have time to do anything about it. And that's where I will leave you for this episode. Thank you for joining me. As always, you can check out any past episodes of this. If you check on my videos tab, I think it's the live tab or videos, something like that. The movie is there to be watched at any time. If you haven't or you want to rewatch, that's cool too. Share. Please share. The content with each other, with other fans, because like I said, I'm trying to reach out to as many people as I can, like on a one-on-one. I post everything on all the Facebook groups. If you're in the Facebook groups, you've probably seen like when I've done something, it's like here it is. So it ends up in every group. I blast post them because I'm just trying to reach everybody, and I don't really know what the best methodology for that is. So I'm working my way through it. As always, you can reach out to me. You can't message people on Twitter anymore. So if you want to message me, get my email or my Facebook. And I still might not see it, if it doesn't go to but I check my spam folders. So just if you need to reach out to me. Also, I'm fine with tagging. You could tag me. And I think that brings us up to about present. I'm very excited about all of this. I'm really happy that I'm going to have this extra content, because I have a little bit of sadness when I finish a project, even if I really, really, really want it done, because I always think like down the road, like, oh, I wish I would have been able to include that scene. I've already been doing it, you know, about things that I didn't get to include into the literary version of Another New World. And I'll always do it. And now I get to at least give you another version of something that's going to be better than it was before. So this is a good thing, and I'm happy about it. And I will see you guys again mid-month, and I'll have probably a little bit of an update of anything that's going on, but I'm going to try to do another Bonanza episode. So until then, be safe, organize your workplace, join unions, talk to each other, help each other out. Let's talk about, you know, the making a people's union for non-labor oriented people who are unable to do that kind of things. If you're looking for fun things to do, remember to support your local drive-in theaters. Those are always fun things to do. Don't do fireworks anymore because the season is over. No more fireworks. And I will see you guys soon. So take care. Goodbye.